Okay, so then we come to exercise slash lesson 6. And in this one, I just take that drawing I did before and I do a sketch. This is a more realized sketch. This is sort of your goal, okay? Notice it's not crazy accurate compared to the scene above, but close enough, right? Now, in this, I'm using basically a white pencil. You can actually go get them. There's white pastel pencils if you want to do that. But for them to work, you need to have a gray paper. So I'm just kind of showing a little bit of extra technique here. It's nothing you can do. If you have white paper, awesome. Just don't, just basically shading everything else and leave this one center part here white. That's all you got to do. And again, I cover materials at the end of this. So hopefully you're out there getting a sketchbook. And as I said before, your goal should be to get out there and contour draw, shade, memory draw, and sketch every single day, everything that you can see. And it won't take long. It's a lot of fun and it will really be enjoyable. And I guarantee you will actually improve in your ability to draw. And if you're a programmer who wants to get into games, it is a superpower. So hope you enjoy and keep drawing. All right. So I've been teaching drawing for like last 6 days or so. So this is sort of like, I wanted to say it's like the final demo of the first 6 lessons, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those lessons, put them in the one big video, and then I'll play them on here periodically as like a rerun, and I'll find somewhere to put them on YouTube. That way it's like one place you go and it's like the first 6. And if you do those 6 lessons and then practice the stuff in them, yeah, you'll learn to draw. But then I'm going to do another series soon where I show people how to do a size drawing. And that's where you can become very accurate and very detailed in your drawing. But to do that, you got to practice this other style. And the thing to remember about this style is it's not intended to be, it's meant to be like sketching. It's meant to be getting as much art out as you can, right? So that you can sort of like practice drawing, practice proportions, but not obsess over how correct things are, right? So for today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually draw this using the same style, keeping this drawing here. I'm going to try to replicate what I see up here using the cross hatching. Kind of started over here. And I'll do it with this ink style. I think it's good. I think it's probably easier to see, to be honest. Let me just make sure. Okay, yeah, I guess I'll just have to do it that way. And yeah, so we're just going to kick back and I'm going to do this as kind of a demo, and then we're going to do a review of everything we did over the 6 lessons. And I'm going to give you sort of a lesson plan to get yourself drawing, so you can just learn how to draw. And then probably after that, I'm going to do a bunch of lessons where I just basically do demos and talk about how to draw specific things. So how to draw hands, how to draw faces, how to draw fruit. And after that, then we get into size drawing. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it. So for this last lesson in this part, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that drawing I did from the previous lesson. We did this. And I'm gonna basically use cross hatching to try to make it something like what I see up there. And keep in mind, it's never gonna be exact. This is a sketching style, right? It's intended to be something that you could do pretty quick, although cross-hatching is kind of not the fastest way to do things, but it'll work. Then at the end, I'm going to review what I taught over the last 5 lessons. So you have a summary and give you an explanation of what you should be practicing so you can improve your drawing. Remember, learning to draw is a process. It takes a while, right? But it should be, kind of enjoyable. It's not frustrating because, if you do a bad drawing, just do another one. You should be trying to get the bad drawings out. Do as many as you can. And get a sketchbook, ballpoint pen, pencils. That's it. Now, I'll have some materials and stuff like that you can get too. But for now, we're just going to kick back and I'm going to try to draw this thing. So you can kind of see how you do it. Once you got your drawing, then you just start the cross hatching. One thing you'll notice is I don't have a lot of this drawn in. I got the big shapes, but I'm not doing a lot of this. That's because what we're going to do is use cross-hatching to kind of lay out where some of these are. And try our best, right? And then kind of invent our own branches and stuff, right? So, okay, here we go. And, feel free. I'm not going to touch the image on top. So if you want to try to follow along and do your own drawing of it, go for it. Yeah, I think that'll get me kind of close to what I want. Okay, let's go over here. gonna kind of cheat. Let me think. A drawing tablet. How big is it? And like what kind? Like sort of doesn't matter. They're all pretty good these days. Is it like a 6x4? If it's too small, I would say it's probably not going to be very helpful. It'd be better just get paper. Honestly, just go get paper. Paper and pencil is probably going to be easier. Like if you get a sketchbook, something you can carry around with you and just do it all the time, you're going to be more likely to do the drawing. And when you have a tablet, you have to like start up your computer and do it, like try to do the drawing and that kind of thing. And so that gets real hard after a while. But if you're a programmer, you know, you're already sitting at your computer. Then the tablet's nice because you can just kind of like fire up a program, do a drawing, and then done. Let me see. Yeah, that's kind of coming along. So let me kind of continue my cheating ways. I'm saying cheating because you most likely don't have a white chalk pencil, but you could go get one. You have a gray paper and you have a white pencil, there you go. And while I still have this color, let's kind of go like this. Alright, yeah, possibly. Then they can be turned off. Yeah, I mean, that's why I say if you're a programmer, tablet's probably okay. Because you're going to be on your, and then like as a break in debugging, you just like go and fire up the drawing program and do a quick drawing. So it works, but you know, normally for other people, it's like, you know, drawing tablets are a pain in the ass. They're also hard to use. I'm actually, one of the reasons why I'm forcing myself to do this drawing on the tablet is I want to learn how to use this program. And so, I'm sitting here cross-hatching for about an hour. Helps me learn it. Okay, I think that's kind of what I wanted. Let's see. Are we on Canvas 12? Yeah, that should be fine. I really, really like this program. This program is very close. Like probably about as close as you can get in digital to like real media. This one's called Rebel 7. But you could go get Krita and then get some photos and basically just try to do some drawing. And at the end of the session today, I'm going to go through what I did, and then I should have like a video up you can follow. Where I get a layout like what you want to learn and study. And kind of like a good optimal order. But the basic idea is, you know, first you got to get your hand kind of coordinated with your eyes. And so that's contour drawing. That does that for you. And then you learn how to do values, how to do shading, and what the concept of a value is. And then once you kind of have the concept of a value, you just get into sketching, which this is a sketch, but I measured it. So the style of sketching I tell people to start with is you just sort of kind of give yourself educated guesses of where things are. And then you move on to learning how to measure. Just trying to get the effect of that. It's actually a camera aberration, but it looks cool. Oh man. I'm like, okay, I have to go get a dark pencil. So I was going to put this down and go pick up a dark pencil. It's a digital pencil though, so I just come over here and I go like that. I turn mine off. But I think, you know, I think a lot of programmers are chronically online these days. A lot of people are. Alright, so this is all kind of one value. Yeah. And then, yeah, you know, let's just keep going. And yeah, kind of sort of amorphous back there, so. I think I also will erase out where some of that light is. Lines kind of make it look like there's a dip in the road. That's sort of accidental. Maybe I'll just keep it. And I sort of want to get rid of that. And this is kind of okay. Yeah, we can. And then let's get like that. Okay. And come back the other way. And it has been a long time since I've done cross-hatching. I actually really hate cross-hatching. Absolutely hate it. I mean, it is, you know, very relaxing, but if you want to make a drawing, it's so tedious. Did you have a question? Oh yeah, trying to learn C programming. Yeah, what gets you messed up? Pointers? It's always pointers. Pointers and memory management. Yeah, everything is hard in C. Because you'll have to do it yourself. So if you use a library that provides a lot of things for you, that gets rid of a lot of the problems. So if you have a library that does like all the data structures, all the you know, typical things. Yeah, the way I've kind of done those, yeah, it makes it look like the road is warped, but oh well. We're just gonna go with it. See if you can fix it as we go. But, you know, that's also the reason why C is beneficial, right? Because you're running around using a language that takes care of all that for you. But you're most likely still doing a lot of things that are not, like, good for a computer, you know? Because, you know, if you're using, say, Python or something else, you don't really know that, oh, yeah, computers don't really go well with that structure or this format or something. That's sort of the advantage of languages like Python. You don't have to really know how things work. You still make something useful. but it really helps, right? So Z forces you to actually know how the computer keeps track of RAM, how you make RAM, how you do pointers to it, how you process it, what makes it work. So, interestingly, the thing that you're struggling with is kind of the point of learning C. I wouldn't say C is like a very good language for actually making anything these days. There's way better languages and systems now. But the advantage of C, or the point of learning C, is that so many languages are descendants of C. If you learn just like basic C, you can learn almost anything else. C++, Go, Zig, Rust, Odin, like every language. So I told you it's kind of like learning Latin. Like Latin is totally useless. You're never going to use Latin. Maybe if you become a doctor, right? But if you learn Latin, so many other languages are really easy. Because a lot of languages come from Latin. Alright, we're going to kind of throw some of these in. Let's see what we can do here. Let me see. Yeah, look at the word is a little, the road is a little warpy because I didn't keep my line straight, but that's okay. Step back, see what we got. Yeah, it's coming along. That'll work. Let me see. Yeah, that bit casual, that's very much a C++ thing. You know, expanded cuber, I'm not a big debugger fan, but maybe if you went and you step through code and tried to look at exactly what's going on, like if you got a nice visual debugger like the one in Visual C++ or something, and you just sat down and said, I'm going to walk through this code that uses a pointer to print out an array of numbers, and I'm going to look at what happens to the pointer and actually follow along and try to get an understanding of it. I think you would probably figure it out. You just did that a few times. But I think what happens is people just don't realize that they can actually just look at the output. Okay, and yeah, let's come back here some. Yeah, something like that. Okay, now, kind of the branches and stuff. hell is that? Oh, I was kind of doing an outline, I think. Yeah, bye-bye. Do I work as a programmer professionally, Assad? Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. I worked for years. I did like all kinds of stuff. Web servers, embedded systems, a lot of government work. So a lot of databases and working with weird vendor tools. I would say my number one skill is working with really bad stuff, like making really bad tools work. That is actually like a really important skill if you want to become a programmer. Fixing shitty code. Now I'm trying to imply kind of the leaves and stuff. Yeah, we'll see how it works. I don't know. I think I need to kind of make smaller patches. And then kind of those are pretty dark, but yeah, I feel like if I went as dark as they are, it wouldn't make any sense. Oh, that would help. Like, why isn't it dark enough? Oh, I'm using the wrong value. Okay, and then let's see. Okay, let me see. Probably. Oh, so tedious. I may get to a point just be like, all right, that's the leaves. There you go. Moving on. Yeah, the leaves are kind of what really makes this a difficult subject. Yeah, backlight and then these kind of leaves that act as screens, you know? But I sort of have an idea what to do. Face them back. Yeah, let's make these a lot darker. While I'm doing this, I'm like, oh my god, it'd be done by now if this is oil paint. No idea if this is gonna work. We'll see. And it works, I think. looks weird. I don't like that. That's better. And then kind of punch some holes for the sky. Okay. Hey, Zebby. No, actually, yeah, I'm gonna go sleep right after this. I'm shooting for like a 2 a.m. bedtime. All right, everybody. So that's a demo, right? I mean, it took me like about an hour and a half to do that, but that's sort of what, yeah. I mean, basically, that's kind of what you're shooting for. Like I said, not intended to be like a perfect, amazing drawing. I think that's the thing I want to sort of hammer home initially, is that, you know, I find it's very common with programmers to want to obsess over being correct, because that's what you do in programming. But also I find there's just, you know, a certain type of person who thinks that if only they could make it more accurate, then nobody could criticize their work. And, you know, that's not true. You can have the most perfect drawing, it can still be a really bad drawing, or not very interesting, or whatever. There's always a way to have a criticism of it. So I suggest just learning to draw and enjoy the experience of drawing. Like, how does it feel? And, you know, kind of as you do that, you'll get better, and you'll get to where like you're kind of satisfied with what you make. And, you know, a lot of times you won't, right? But that's just why you keep doing it. Because if you focus on how it feels, then, you know, it's like what they say about going fishing. Worst day fishing is still better than the best day at work. So it's sort of the same thing. It's kind of like, you know, hey, a bad drawing was still more enjoyable than many other things. And you kind of do it again. Alright, so let me do a review. Let me stop tinkering with this thing, because I could sit here all day just making things more and more. Okay, so to review. So basically I did 6 lessons. That was the 6th one, which is sort of like a full demo of cross-hatching, so you know what you're going to aim for. And eventually I want to get to where, probably the next thing we'll do is I'll do like a demo of, there's sort of like the main subjects in painting and drawing. There's still life, which is sort of like where you want to start. There's interiors, which is just a room. And then there's landscapes. So you have like what we just did. Landscapes are pretty difficult. The thing with landscapes is there's a lot of cliches, and so you could do a very, very good landscape painting that's almost exactly from a photo, but unless it has specific cliches, it won't be seen as a good painting of a landscape. So then you have obviously like portraits, figures. Those are considered the most difficult because they're, you know, like portraits are very hard for people. Figures are very hard for people. I would say figures are easier than portraits for people. What makes figures difficult is they're just complex and there's anatomy. What makes portraits difficult for people is our brain is designed to not let you draw a portrait, right? So it's very difficult to do it. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So you got landscapes, you've got still life, which includes like florals and flowers. You got interiors, so like rooms and stuff. You have portraits, you have figures, And included in that is a bunch of stuff, architectural drawings, cloth, all that kind of stuff. Well, so what I mean by your brain is not designed to allow you to draw a portrait. So one of the things that makes it very difficult is that there's a lot of things in your brain to help you memorize faces, so facial recognition. And so all the facial recognition stuff focuses mostly on this triangle here. So that's kind of mostly what you actually remember. Which is why when people change their hair, sometimes you don't notice, or if they change their hair, it's like wildly different. Like, who is that person? So this is kind of the majority of it, right? And so what happens is, because your brain is very, 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 very designed to recognize faces, when you go to draw them, it gets in the way and sort of like distorts the things you're drawing and puts things in the wrong place. And because what it's remembering, it goes, oh, I know that face. And so you start drawing more of a cartoon that's all in the wrong place. And you can go and look, there's actually like things where like, they show what babies mostly see for the first couple of years. It looks like the Aliens, where it's like really big eyes. This is kind of what a baby's distorted vision sees. They just see like that, right? That's all they see. So what happens is when you go to draw a face, you almost always draw this sort of like summarized look that's not in proportion and is kind of cartoonish, right? And so the way to kind of prove that to yourself is to take a portrait and turn it upside down, right? So if there wasn't anything about your brain, so imagine the hypothesis. My brain does not interfere with my ability to draw a portrait. Okay, that's the hypothesis. So the test is, try to draw a portrait of a face. You'll totally screw it up. Okay, now get a different face, different portrait, different photo of a face. Turn it upside down. Try to draw that one upside down. Then compare the two. You'll find the upside down one is way better. And it's because when the face is upside down, your brain just has no idea what's going on, and you just treat it like shapes. So there's just a lot of things in your brain that make you just very, very much try to recognize face. And actually, there's this kind of weird thing. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, yeah. So have you ever seen these face illusions? These are wild, dude. The Thatcher effect. So your brain is so determined. Your brain is so determined to recognize this face. So look at the one on the left, right? Looks normal, right? But when you turn it right side up, you see that it's completely screwed up. Right? Her lips are completely different. You look at it on the left, she looks normal, right? That's Adele. Totally normal. Yeah, turn it upside down, you go, oh, what the hell? That's totally wrong. Yeah, so no matter what, your brain is going to try its best to kind of like recognize that and piece it together. It does everything it can to go, oh, that's a face, I know that. And then when you turn right side up, your brain's like, what the fuck is that? I don't know what that is. So anyways, oh God, that's horrendous. When you do this, you go like, oh yeah, it totally looks normal. Uh-huh. Yeah, Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, see, totally normal. Nope. And all they're doing in these is they rotate the face upside down, but they keep the eyes right side up. So when they turn back around, right? So this is sort of like kind of the more evidence that what your brain is doing is it really only kind of recognizes this kind of like triangle in here, right? There we go. It's a bad triangle. So as long as that triangle is pretty accurate, mouth and eyes, your brain's like, oh yeah, totally, that's Justin Bieber. When you flip it upside down, then it's like you can totally see that it's wrong. Right? So the inverse is sort of true. If you have a face and you turn it upside down, then you won't really recognize it, right? What's tricking you here is also that the eyes and mouth are kind of right side up. So then, yeah, it just totally messes with you. All right, so that's, just kind of more proof. There's a lot that goes on in your brain to help you remember faces that does not help you when you're drawing, right? The other thing that gets in the way of accurate drawing is if I took and let's say, get my pen back. Let's say I go, okay, here, I'm going to throw some balls at you. And I just start throwing them at you. They're flying at you, right? And then I take you over to a table and I go, okay, what ball did I throw you? Like, how big was it? You're going to go, oh, it's this one. And you're probably going to be right. Like, most of the time you'll be right. Okay. Now, if I then have a different person, right? And I'm going to throw balls at them like normal, but I give them a stick and I say, hit these balls. They go, okay. And then go and hit the balls like as good as they can. Then I take them over to the same table and I go, okay, which one was it? They're going to pick slightly bigger balls. They're going to think that they were hitting balls that were like slightly bigger. And the reason why is because their brain is like, oh, we have to be accurate now. Okay, so to be accurate, I've got to crop down and like kind of make these things look bigger so we can hit them. It zooms in or crops down, however you want to look at it. Okay, so the other thing that messes up your drawing is you want to draw this face. So you go, okay, I got to get this right. I got to be accurate. And your brain's like, oh, accuracy time? No problem. It makes everything way bigger than it should be. Right? Everything is going to be bigger. So if you ever find yourself like, you know, let's say, you know, there's like, you know, 2 boxes. One's here and then there's one that's like over here, right? Just to draw some very terrible boxes. And if you ever like, you draw this one pretty okay, and then the one behind it, you draw it really huge. That's why. Because like you're looking and you go, oh, and then you zoom in on it and you literally like in your brain and you are going to see it as way bigger than it actually is. And then when you're going to step back from the drawing, you're like, oh, wait, no, that's not right. This is here. Ah, crap, that's there. Damn it. Yeah. Right. And it's because you said to yourself, I'm going to be very accurate. And the second it's like you're trying to hit a ball or anything, the second you turn on accuracy mode, everything is bigger. So then things get out of proportion and whatnot. So that's what measurement helps you with, finding angles, but also like doing things and tricks to kind of turn your brain off and make you see just the shape. And weirdly, that's also kind of the sort of the therapeutic part of it, right? Is that you're just sort of like, in the same way that you do when you do meditation or whatever, it's like you turn off your brain and you make it do something else for a little while, right? Because we're not really designed to draw, but there's sort of like just a bunch of stuff that you can make do other things within your brain, right? So that's why what we did is the very first thing I had everybody do. Let me see if I can do it. Is I had you do a upside down drawing of give me a second. Yeah, it's in here. Of a sculpture, kind of like one of these. We'll just grab like, who's got a good face? That's probably a good face. No, it should be like a frontal face. Yeah, we'll just grab this guy. It'll be a different one from the one we did. And we're gonna, so what I did is I just rotated upside down. Well, this face is busted, but we'll just use it as an example. This guy lost his nose. And turned it upside down. That was the first thing, okay? To kind of prove that, you know, look, it's not that you can't draw, it's that you never learned how to tell your brain to shut up. Ah, so something like that. Okay, so that was the first thing. Oh no. Copilot? I thought I got rid of that. Man, Microsoft is aggressive. Okay, so take a face, you turn it upside down. So the very first practice that you want to start doing is contour drawing. Now the upside down face is just it's a parlor trick, more or less. But if you want to get into portraits, doing a bunch of drawings of faces upside down or self-portraits like that is going to be like a good first step, right? Yeah, it's terrible. Contour drawing is done in two ways. The first one is totally blind, right? So the idea is I start at some point, and what I'm trying to do is walk the edge of the thing, and also kind of like keeping my pencil on the paper, going inside like this and tracing along. And what I want to do is I want to imagine I'm touching, like I'm feeling that thing. There's kind of two reasons why that sort of works. One, trying to combine your senses. I'm looking at the person, but I'm imagining touching it. For some reason, and I'm not a psychologist, but for some reason that tends to confuse your brain, so it gives up. I guess the way to put it, right? I don't know why it is, but it just seems to work to like make it switch off. So we're combining the two senses. We're saying, okay, I'm going to start here. And the second thing is we're trying to get your hand coordinated with your eye, right? So wherever you look, your hand is going to kind of be in the right place, right? So blind contour drawing is I don't look down here. I look only up there, and I follow along the contour. So let's say I'm going to start here. I'm going to follow along. And you probably want to go slower than I'm going to go, but I'm kind of doing a quick demo. Okay, it'll look something like that, complete gibberish. But if you keep practicing, actually, you'll start to get to where like it's closer and closer and closer to the actual thing. But the not looking is sort of a warm up. So you want to go slower than what I did, and you want to just kind of like just trace around the edge and trace in. It also helps you focus on the details of the thing and the kind of like the shape of it and how it feels. Right, so that's practice number one, blind contour drawing. And now you want to do, I guess, regular contour drawing, right? A regular contour drawing is you can look, but you can't take your pencil or pen off the paper, right? So what you want to do is you pick a spot, and you want to go from like any of these spots, like this. If you need to go, say from, let's say I go like this, and I want to go from here to here, I just go like that. Okay, but I can't take my pencil off. So you get these sort of like inner lines that are fine. Like it doesn't really matter, right? So that's kind of what we're trying to do, is do that. Is you're more or less wandering the form. And what you can do is you pick a spot. I'm going to pick down here. And then you're allowed to look. So we're going to go a little bit and then kind of look. And then go a little bit. Kind of look. And go a little bit. Kind of look. Trace along, and again, you want to go slower than I'm doing, so I'm just kind of giving the rough estimate. And a look. It is here. Anyway, it's upside down. Go along, kind of look. Up. Come up here. Like that. And so on. Okay? So that's regular contour drawing. If all you did for like the next couple of weeks is just a bunch of contour drawings, you'd actually find that you become way better at drawing than you actually did. Because what you're doing, remember, one, you're teaching your brain to look and only look at the shapes. That's the first one. Two, that practice of sort of like turning off your normal brain's, your normal perception of things, right? Because remember, how you feel and what you think and what you believe actually does change what you see. A lot of people don't believe that, but it actually really does. There's a lot of science that shows that, being sad will make you think and see things that are actually not there and different, right? And if you look at research into things like eyewitness testimony, right? People are terrible at actually knowing what they see. Awful at it. There's a reason why magicians have a job. People are just terrible at seeing what's around them, right? So what you're trying to do is sort of like you're trying to learn to actually see what's there. Like literally see the thing that's there, like view reality for what it is, right? And the way you do that is first contour drawing. It really does help. It does a really good job. Okay, so that's the two styles, blind and then not blind, right? Now the next thing you do is you get a pencil that works. And the next thing you do is value strips. So value strip is you make like kind of a strip like this. That's a terrible strip. Make a little square in the middle, then do a cut on either side. You do a number. This is 1, this is 9, this is 5, this is 3, this is 7. Trust me, it'll make more sense later when we get into doing more values. All right. So then what you want to do is think of this as like a dial on a light. Okay. 9 is a lot of light and 1 is almost no light. So for example, I'm going to change this. This is 9 on my light. This is 7 on my light. This is probably about 5 on my light. And this is 3 on my light. It could almost be 1, but we'll say this is 1 on my light, right? So think about it that way. There's some people who think of it as the amount of pencil you put down, but I don't like that because what you're trying to do when you draw and paint is you're rendering light. That's what you're doing, okay? And so you want to just think about how much light does this have? How much light does that have? It really helps you figure it out. So when you do your value strips, you do this. And I actually, honestly, if you're sitting on the couch, you got a piece of paper, just do some value strips. It really help. And then you cross hatch it. And the way you cross hatch, and you saw me doing it in the demo there, I did like whole sections in one direction. Then I came back and I did parts of it in another direction and parts of that, right? So you do all the 7 on down in one strip like this. I'm going to do this kind of quick and sloppy, but you'll get the idea. Okay, the whole thing. And how far apart your lines are versus how close also determines how it's perceived as like light or dark. Okay, so that's that one. Then I take all the 5 through 1s, right? And I go back this way, kind of like the opposite direction. And it doesn't have to be exact too. One of the nice things about cross-hatching is it kind of has your own personality. We kind of come back the other way. Now there's a very specific reason why I tell people to do it like this. When you're doing your drawing, it helps you sort of see how different things can be merged together. Right? Okay, so that's my very sloppy cross-hatching going the other direction. Then when we do 3s, we want to go kind of vertical, not totally vertical, but just it is a little off, right? Like a little vertical. So now I can kind of go like this. So this is all the 3s on. Like this. And then the 1, we go kind of horizontal, right? I come back and I just go like this. Okay, and then when you're done with your crosshatch, with your strip, squint a little, right? And I gotta make sure people know what I mean when I say squint. So normalize, squint. What that does is it reduces the amount of light going into your eye. And so doing that compresses the values together. That's weird, man. Every time I do that, my camera moves? I didn't move my camera. Anyway. Odd. Anyway, so when you do squinting, it reduces the amount of light going in. And what that does is any values and what you're looking at that are close together, like they're almost like this 3 and this 5 are actually not different enough. So when I squint, you can't really tell the difference between the 3 and the 5. When you're doing a drawing, squint down and then look, you know, those 2 shapes are actually so close. When I squint, I should just make that one big shape. It'll totally work, right? When I look at the 3 and the 5, it's not quite different enough. So I'm going to add a bit more. And then squint. Okay, now 3 and 5 is different, but now 1 and 3 is not different enough. I'm going to come in and add some more to 1 and 3, or to 1. Okay, squint down. Now you can totally see that they are actually very different. Okay. All right, so that's the next lesson. First one, contour drawing. Do a ton of contour drawing. And you'll find, like, at first they'll look like crap. I guarantee they will look like total garbage. But as you keep doing it, you'll be like, wow, these are actually coming out kind of interesting. And they're not off. They're not like totally wrong, but they're like better than I could do before. And they're interesting. And this is something that comes up a lot. If you want to get into watercolor, contour drawing is your jam. Everyone that does, a lot of people that do watercolor, they do a lot of contour drawing to do their watercolor. It works really well with watercolor for various reasons. So definitely practice contour drawing a lot if you want to do watercolor, right? Then you have values. So this is to practice the most important part of, representational art, which is the monochrome. If it doesn't work in monochrome, and this applies to design, any designs you're working on, any 3D models you're doing, any user interfaces you're making, any font you use, if it doesn't work in monochrome, color will not make it work. Like, color does not save it. It has to be something that people recognize in monochrome, and then you can add any colors you want. And that's sort of like something we can get into later when we get into painting. The color actually doesn't matter. You can completely change the color for most things. Some things like an apple, you can't make it purple. I mean, I don't know, you could try. And people would go like, why is that a purple apple? Right? And they think it's weird. But if it works really well in monochrome, you could make it purple and people would still go, is that a purple apple? Well, at least they would see it's an apple, right? So this is the next fundamental thing, values. Figuring out how to make the value strips, how to make values, and then going on and doing shading of those values. So take one of your contour drawings, right? So let's say, now I got like a contour drawing or like an apple or something like that. Yeah, it looks like that. It's got a little shadow, right? So you're going to take your contour drawing, right? Doesn't matter how it looks, okay? And you're going to say, all right, so I'm going to do everything that is 7 or less. I'm going to leave the 9s alone. All the shapes that are 9, leave them alone. I'm going to do one whole screen for everything else. So let's say in my imaginary thing, there's like a highlight right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is everything else is a 7, a 5, a 3, or a 1. I'm just going to do it all as 7s. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. I'm going to leave that 9 alone. Okay. Just kind of come like this. And you can go over it and then just erase it. There's a very specific reason, like I said, why you do it this way. It'll be annoying, but if you practice it, you'll get to where, obviously gigantic sections, maybe break it down. But if you can do this, then you'll get better at sort of like seeing, oh, those two shapes are so close. I can merge them together and get just one value and it'll work. It'll totally work. Okay, so then I want to say, what's 5? So let's say let's say the top of this is 5. Okay. And then remember, 5 or less. So we're going to say maybe the back side of the apple is a 3 and then the shadow is a 1, but okay, so 5 or less. So now I'm just going to basically shade all of this as a 5, right? And then, you can kind of go like this. And again, I'm being sloppy because I'm trying to do a speed review of what to do. Okay, so now we do 3 and higher, which is really just the back shadow and the cast shadow. So again, we kind of go vertical. And let's start over here, kind of just go this way. And if you practice this, you get to where like you sort of can see this, you'll start to see that it actually, this way of sort of merging shapes together and seeing how all the shapes are kind of like going these steps. This comes up in watercolor, acrylic, pastels. Like being able to do this makes it so much easier to work with everything later. Remember, I'm not touching up there, right? I'm not touching the stuff that's a 5 up there. Okay, so that's all the 3s and 7s, and then are 3 and 1s. So now I just do the 1s, and that's this cast shadow. Something like that. So that's how you apply. Do your contour drawing, do your value strip, put the values in that order. Identify the shapes, the parts that are a 9. Leave those alone. Make everything else 7. Then, what parts are 7? Okay, leave those alone. Make everything else 5. Then, what parts are 5? Okay, leave those parts alone. And make everything else that's remaining 3. And then everything else that's remaining 1. And if you go through that step, you'll start to go like, okay. I can now see how shapes merge together, or how I can sort of simulate different values and whatnot. And then of course you can come in and basically, once you have your basic shapes down, you can kind of come in and maybe there's this is darker and erase, so you can come in and kind of refine it. Okay, so that's the next thing that we covered, right? Is value strips, and then applying values to your contour drawings. All right, so then the next thing was we did cancel, go away. A sketch. So I would say practice the contour drawing for quite a while. And when your contour drawings are, when you're kind of hey, my contour drawings are actually not bad. Oh wow, okay, these are pretty decent. And it won't take long, a couple weeks, and you'll be like, yeah, this is way better than what it was. And what you want to do is don't look at your art, the things you're drawing, your skill in drawing, by comparing it to someone who's been doing it longer, right? So like me, I've been doing it, pretty long, 10 years or whatnot, but I'm not the most amazing person at drawing, right? I see other people who are very, very good at drawing, and I'm like, oh man, that person is so good at drawing. But I don't go, oh, I'll never be good at drawing because that guy is so much better. It doesn't matter if that person's better. You're supposed to kind of improve yourself. So instead of looking at that, one of the reasons why you keep a sketchbook is so you can compare how you are now to how you used to be. The only person you compare yourself with is yourself, and see if you improve yourself, right? That's the most important thing. When you look at other people and see how other people do it, look at it for cheat codes. Oh, how's that person do? Oh, what's that pencil they got? How'd they do that, right? That's what you want to look at. Don't look at it as, oh, never be that good. Yeah, because that person's probably been doing it since they were 3, right? So unless you're like magic, you're not going to be as good as them, right? So this is what we did with sketching. And so for sketching, what I did was I showed how you're not really measuring, right? Measuring is the next one, but you're not really measuring. Instead, what you're doing is you go, I think it's kind of about here, and maybe it's about there. You get yourself a bounding box. Maybe it's up here. You do a little touch, little touch right there, a little touch right here. And you're looking at what you're trying to draw. You go, I think it's kind of like this. And it was mostly just sort of touching, getting small light marks in key places to see where it is. And then once you have your kind of your light marks, you start to put a big shape. So you kind of, let me make sure I get this. I don't want to mess this drawing up. So I did, okay, I think it's kind of here, maybe here. No, it's kind of more in here, and then it's here. And it's kind of maybe it's over here. Okay, so kind of that, maybe this. That top is kind of it's kind of like this. It's a big triangle. And then this, and then there's this box that's kind of here. And then once you have the big shapes, you kind of go in and you cut them. You're like, actually this kind of comes in more like this. And if you keep your pencil marks light, as you get more definite in what you see and what you make the pencil darker. And the light marks don't show up. People really won't notice, or they'll just think that's artistic flavor. Once you have these shapes kind of cut down, and you've got a better idea of where things are, and you're trying to do this more quick, not contour, but you're kind of trying to feel where things are. And if you practice the contour drawing, that'll actually feel much more natural. Then again, do a value strip and apply shading using the values. Same process. Okay. So that's sketching. Again, doing a bunch of contour drawing and then throwing in some sketches, or maybe every day, one contour drawing, one sketch, shade them both, right? Next thing we did was drawing from memory. Now, I don't know if I have the bucket open, but this was the drawing, and we actually did it in a certain way. So give me a second. Yeah, it was this. All right, we'll have to open it with whatever random program. Oh my God, no. No. I remember this now. The only thing that could display it correctly was the web browser. Okay, so drawing from memory. I full screen this, I full screen my drawing. Okay? What you do is, and the way I describe it is, whatever you want to draw, if you're doing it on a computer, you have full screen, 2 windows, you're going to flip them, set a timer. If you're drawing a real thing, put one thing in one room, the thing you want to draw, and put your pencil and paper in another room. This is really weird, but it totally works. Putting something in another room, when you walk away into the opposite room to draw, you'll actually kind of remember more about it. It's the whole thing. There's a thing called a memory palace. For some reason, humans are super good at remembering crap that's in rooms. It's just, I don't know. We again, brain things, right? So what you do is, if you got to give yourself more time, the rule in memory drawing is, in the memory room, you can do anything you need except drawing to remember it. Then in the drawing room, you can't bring anything that you have. You can take notes, you can draw, you can do anything you need, and then leave it in that room, walk into the drawing room, and try to draw what you remember. So when I did this, what I did is I like to use my pinky, and I go, okay, it's like this, it's like that. Okay, it's like there's a sphere on top, it's like this, and there's another sphere. There's a sphere on top, and I keep repeating stuff. Then I go, okay, go. I gave myself a minute. And then I tried to draw what I could remember, right? Tried to draw what I could remember. Okay, all right, okay. Okay, I don't know where this is. I don't know where that is. Okay, and then go back. Okay, oh, that's up there. That's up there. Okay, the top is over here. The top is over here. Another thing you do is you close your eyes and remember it, then open your eyes. Then close your eyes and try to remember it, then open your eyes. And close your eyes and try to remember it, open your eyes. Drawing with your pinky, holding it, pretending you're holding it, actually holding the real thing also helps. It's weird. I know it's totally bizarre, but it does work. Like connecting your sense of touch to your sense of sight. I don't know why. It works, right? Okay. And then just keep doing that back and forth. And then this was done from memory. Like I did it live. And basically, yeah, you know, from memory, it's pretty close. Little narrow, right? And as you do this, you'll start to find weird things that you remember wrong. So for example, you remember directions of shadows wrong. You'll think like a glass, one thing to try, a glass full of water with something behind it. You'll get it totally wrong. Like you will not remember it. And now that I've told you, maybe you'll get it right. But you'll do it, if you do it without any prompting, there's a bunch of things you'll be like, what the hell? How did I think that the shadow went that way? This is partially to help you sort of get better at memorizing what you see, which is like a big part of being able to draw. Because if you think about it, to draw something, I got to look at the thing, take my eyes off of it, and then draw it, right? So that simple, like 2 seconds is actually enough time for you to completely forget what you're drawing, right? Completely forget what you're looking at. So doing this boosts that amount of time. You want to try to get like 3 or 4 seconds and also remember more details, remember more accurately. So memory drawing. Do a bunch of contour drawing, shade it. Do a bunch of sketches, shade it. Then do a bunch of memory drawing. And believe it or not, memory drawing is probably, after you know how to do some sketching, you know how to do some contour drawing, drawing from memory is probably the #1 booster to your ability to draw. It is guaranteed going to make you better at drawing. It's bizarre though. Trust me, your first few memory drawings are going to be so weird. You'll be like, what? You'll take the thing you take your drawing into the drawing in memory room and be like, what the hell was I doing? Like, it'll make no sense that you remembered things differently. Right? And so then do a bunch of memory drawing. Okay. And then the final thing was a covered measurement. All right. So measurement. Let me find the thingy. Yeah, here we go. And luckily, I learned to use layers. No, not this one. This was my painting, my test painting. This one. There we go. And all right. So the final thing to do is learning to do measurement. Okay. And what I did with this one, imagine there's no shading over here. Imagine I didn't do that, all right, on the side. What you want to do is, it's a style called unit measurement. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to drawing, there's a ton of techniques. There's all kinds of drawing styles and ways to measure and stuff like that. And we're going to, after this, my next series is going to be just sight-size drawing. Sight-size drawing is awesome. Kind of a pain in the ass though. So, but it does produce a very accurate drawing. But the main reason I'm going to teach sight size is it's a drawing style where you can find your own errors and fix them, right? But this style, you pick a unit. So what I did is I said, okay, from the horizon right here to that branch, that's my unit of measurement. And then I take my pencil and I use my finger, the tip of the pencil to there, and I go, okay. And the thing to remember is you lock arm, lock head, close one eye. So close an eye, lock a head, lock the arm. If you do those 3 things, then you're going to get an accurate measurement. And also make sure you're standing in the same place for the most part. But you measure from that horizon line up to the top. And you go to your paper and you figure out where that is. And you put just that piece on your paper. Now, after that, what you're doing is let's say I want to measure the tree. I go and I measure the tree and then I see, well, how much of my unit does it use? I go, okay, it's also the same. So then I go down to my paper and I remeasure my unit and I go, okay, it's the same. And I measure to the top, put a little mark. Other things I go, okay, how wide is this sidewalk down here? It's half of a unit. So as long as you relate everything in the drawing to that one unit, and that unit is kind of in the right place, more or less, then the drawing should come out proportionate. Everything should be in the right proportions. The only other thing you need is angles. So you'll find things in the drawing or in the scene that are either on the same line, so like these things maybe are on the same line, horizontally or vertically. Those are called plumb lines. And also that have specific angles. So that has a specific angle, right? And if you can say, okay, well, see how this branch goes like that. I drew this branch over here, so obviously that branch has to be there. Okay, so how you take an angle for something, lock head, close eye, lock arm, and then turn your pencil the direction you want, put it against the thing you're trying to get an angle for, then go to your paper and go, yeah. Okay, so that's my angle. So this must be down here. So you get your measurements and then you do angles to relate things to each other. Do those 2 things and your scene will probably be in proportion and have reasonably good measurements, right? The problem with unit measurement is it has like an upward limit on how accurate it can be. So that's where sight size comes in. And there's a couple other drawing styles. There's block-in style that can also be very crazy accurate. Yeah, so that's measurement. Now, 2 tips on this. Remember, lock your arm. If you measure something and then you go like this and measure again, and then go like that and measure again, your measurements are going to be totally boned. They're not even be close to accurate. So the walking the arm just gives you a consistent distance from your eye to the pencil. Next thing, the eye to close is your non-dominant eye. So the way you figure out your non-dominant eye, take a pencil, okay? Look at something and put, with both eyes open, and put the pencil kind of between you and the thing. So you can sort of see the tip of the pencil and put it on something. Okay, now close one eye. If the pencil stays on the thing, then that's your good eye. That's your dominant eye. If the pencil moves, that's your non-dominant eye. So you want to always use your dominant eye. That way things are always kind of like actually aimed right and on the same path, right? The worst thing you can do, and you should do this, take your pencil and put it, and you should see the pencil just jumping, right? The worst thing you can do is switch your eyes, right? Because you'll measure one thing, draw it, and then you'll switch eye and you'll measure the other thing. The reason people switch their eye is they go to draw over here. Oh, so I'll use that eye. And then they go to draw something over here and go, okay, I'll use that eye. No, same eye. Then the next thing is, as a human with two eyes, you are used to doing this, right? Oh, I got to see around the bush, make sure the tiger doesn't kill me, right? In painting and drawing, that's death. That will make it so that your stuff looks totally weird. And the reason why is even just a slight shift backwards or forwards, or just a little to one side, can dramatically change the perspective, right? Especially when things are far away. So you want to keep your head in more or less the same spot, right? And kind of the only way to do this is plant your feet and then just make sure you're doing this. But if you find yourself going like that, like looking around, then what I recommend you do is get a camera, set up a camera, and then with the camera, film yourself drawing something in front of the camera, or just draw the camera, okay? And then take it and look at it. And if you want, speed it up. And if you see yourself doing like this while you're drawing, then just stop it. Like, do another drawing with the camera and try to keep your head in the same spot. And again, if you see yourself doing this, then that's why your drawings are never accurate. Keep your head still. Boom. Close one eye, lock the arm. Head still, close one eye, lock the arm. It's weird to say it like that, like, you know, like a drill sergeant, but believe it or not, man, it is really, really hard to not do this. You go, oh, that thing is close to me. Okay. Oh, that thing's far away. Okay. Totally wrong. Your measurements are wrong. Another one is you do that, and then you think, oh, it's no big deal. Just next one, you move it a little bit. That just even like 1 inch back or forward, completely wrong measurements. It'll be way off, right? So to calibrate it, do this. Close one eye, make sure you're using your dominant eye, keep your head in the same spot, and go. That's it. Doing those three things will dramatically improve your measurement quality, right? And then after that, yeah, just shade it like I did. And, you know, if you want to go get a white pencil like I got, that's fine. And again, it doesn't have to be spectacular, right? You're just kind of learning. I'm trying to do it sort of like the way I think you would end up doing it. And also, for me, I'm not actually a digital artist, so I'm more or less kind of learning to draw with all of you, learning to draw digitally. But this is kind of what you want to shoot for, you know, and you can get pretty damn crazy with cross-hatching and drawing, right? There's definitely, you can get photographic level, but at this level, don't shoot for that. Shoot for something like this, right? And then just, you know, final word of advice is, you know, hopefully there's 6 lessons, and I'll try and get them online so people can see them. Sort of give you tricks and techniques to speed up your ability to draw, right? That's all it's doing. So just simple things like use your dominant eye, keep your arm locked. This is a value strip. Okay, those simple things are going to speed you up. But ultimately, you don't need any lessons to learn to draw. So just watching me draw, totally useless. I mean, yeah, sure, you get a couple tips, right? Just like with programming, learning to write better, playing music, the only way to learn to draw is to just do a shitload of really bad drawings. Like, you should be trying to crank out a couple of notebooks worth of bad drawings. You know, take your time with them, but you should be trying to put out within 6 months. You want to make me 2 or 3 notebooks full of bad drawings. But what you're going to find is after like the first notebook, your drawings are actually not that bad. After your second notebook, your drawings are getting pretty decent. After your third notebook, hey, you can draw, right? And as long as when you do it, yeah, try to do it fast, do some slow, take your time, do some memory drawing, but try to be accurate. And that just trying to be accurate, but constraining your measurements or doing your contours, doing your shading as close as you can, just that act of attempting to be accurate is going to make your progress accelerate, right? And then the final thing is never judge the quality of your drawing in the middle. In the middle, everything looks like absolute ass. Like it always looks bad. When you do your first, like you got your first little sketch, that probably looks great. Your first contour, hey, this isn't that bad. Then you start to shade it in. Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible. Keep going. Don't stop. In the middle, it always looks bad. It's that way with code. It's that way with writing. In the middle of the process, things are in flux. They're up in the air. You don't know how good or bad you've done until you finish. So then when you get to the end, that's when you look at it and you say to yourself, how good was it really? Go into critique mode. Don't critique yourself while you paint or draw or write or code. Then afterwards, go in and say, okay, how can I do this better? Can I do this? What should I work on? What did I really not kind of get right in this? What's the thing I need to fix in my next drawing? What do I need to look at? Oh, it looks like I didn't really do these measurements right. I didn't do this. Okay, let's pick something that's in perspective. We're going to try and work on measurement. You know what? I don't really get values. I'm going to work on values, more value strips, right? But in the middle, shut up. Just keep going. Even if what you end up with is total garbage and you kept telling yourself, oh, this is going to be garbage, it's going to be garbage. If you stop in the middle, you won't really know. Maybe you pull it together. Maybe you're just wrong, right? Like you don't really understand how it's going to actually look. Follow the process, keep going, lock arm, close one eye, and then you'll improve. All right. Thank you, everybody. I am actually about to pass out. I want to make sure you don't have to suffer through another ad. So let me snooze that. I'm going to get these online soon. And then I think what I might do is I might use them as like I kind of want something where I can do a rerun if I'm not able to come and stream at 10. So like I'll just replay the drawing lessons. But if you have questions or anything, you want to learn to draw, you can email me. And I'm going to get a web page up of like materials, but for the most part, if you want to get a drawing tablet, or a drawing sketchbook, I'll just query this up real quick. You want to get Prismacolor Ebony Sketch Pencil is really good. This guy, Prismacolor Ebony Sketch. You can get a box of 12 for $8. That will most likely last you a couple years. And just like a Strathmore sketchbook. Just get like a 9x12, whatever will fit. Like if you have a backpack you take to the coffee shop or whatever, you know, just get that. 400 series, it doesn't have to be fancy at all. Remember, this is going to be like 100 sheets, right? So like it's going to be 100, 200 really bad drawings. Don't worry about getting awesome, really nice paper. That won't make your drawings better. If you want to experiment, I would say get maybe a toned gray or toned tan. Yeah, toned gray. That's really cool. If you get toned gray, go get a white pencil too. Any kind of like white pastel pencil and play with that. The advantage of doing a gray, I wouldn't get into it yet. When you get into measuring your drawings and stuff, then try it out. The advantage of a gray paper is you don't have to shade everything. You can only you just shade the stuff like the gray, you go, that's 5. And then you just shade all the 3s and 1s and you use white to shade the others and then you're done. But this is where you want to start. And just those 2 things. To sharpen your pencil, just use an X-Acto knife or a box cutter. You don't really need to get a pencil sharpener. And yeah, you can get an eraser if you want. Just get a gum eraser. Those are the easiest to use. And that's it. One of these guys. They're like silly putty. Clay. They're like clay. One of those. And when you have one of those, just to show you a really quick thing. So the way you use them, the way you use a gum eraser, right? Let's see if I can come back. Okay. So it'll get, see how this one's kind of dirty? So you use it, you can roll it into like a little point, and you can get like a little tip eraser. You can also just sort of like push it on the paper to kind of dab some up. You can rub it, but it'll get graphite on it. You just go like this, just like mangle it, mash it like that. That works the putty in, or works all the graphite into there, and then ta-da, you have a clean one. That's all you do. And that's it. All right. All right. That is the end of my 6 lessons to get you started in drawing. What I hope you get out of this is, like I said, a set of techniques that just shortens the time between where you are now, or probably where you were at the beginning of the series, and where you want to be with art. Really, the only way to learn to draw is just do a ton of drawing. You really don't even need any lessons, anything. You just need a sketchbook, you need a pencil or a couple pencils, an eraser, whatever. And you got to draw every day like your life depends on it, but not that stressed. What I want you to get out of this is some techniques. Cross-hatching, some basic cross-hatching styles. Contour drawing to get your hand coordinated with your eye. And contour drawing is going to be very important if you want to do digital art, because typically you use a digital tablet and that's off to the side. That's contour drawing. Then drawing from memory. That is going to be the #1 thing that boosts your ability to draw. If you practice drawing from memory, you will see a massive improvement in your skills and your ability to draw. It'll seem weird, it won't make any sense, but trust me, it'll totally work. And then finally, how to use your pencil and locking your arm, making your eyes in the correct formation, keeping your head still, and how to measure where things are, and how to relate things to each other within the scene that you're trying to measure. And then finally, putting it all together to produce a sketch. It's not meant to be a highly rendered perfect drawing. That's not the stage you're at. And it's also kind of like, something you can do quickly. Maybe an hour or so, you could probably do this, right? So that's your goal. What I want you to do now is spend as much time as you can over the next weeks, or hopefully you've been watching this video for multiple weeks, and just try to do as much drawing as possible. My next video is going to be similar to this, a long form video with a series of demos. I'm going to demo the main subjects that you do. And then after that, I'm going to show how to do sight-size drawing. Sight-size drawing is where we get into the photorealism side of things. Although honestly, I'm going to tell you, I kind of hate photorealistic drawing. It's very tedious. It's not my jam, but I will show people how to do it because it really does give you control and skill and capability to go on and then do whatever style of drawing you want to do. So hopefully you enjoyed this, and maybe I will see you next time, or maybe I will catch you on stream.